Everyone, in this video we're going to understand some OOPS concepts. First of all, let's understand what do we mean by object oriented programming. So basically, in simple words, object oriented programming is a programming paradigm which has two things. It has two things, classes and objects, right? So basically, object oriented programming has two things, classes and objects, and it is a programming paradigm. So we have some concepts in OOPS which we are going to understand, such as classes, objects, inheritance, encapsulation, abstraction, polymorphism, and a few more. So there is something known as modularity in OOPS. Modularity means that it allows the object oriented programming allows the reusability of code. For example, as in C++, we define functions, right? We define functions. Why do we define functions? So that we do not have to write the same code again and again. In a similar way, we'll understand how object oriented programming also helps us in order to avoid the reusability of classes. So in real world it is designed to make our lives easier. So first of all, let's understand what is objects and what are classes. For example, we have an animal. We have an animal, and animal has some properties. The particular animal has some properties. For example, it has name, it has a type, it has an age, it has a color. Animal has some properties like name, type, age, and color. What do we mean by these? These are states of an animal, right? States of an animal or properties of an animal. But what if we also have behaviors of animals? Behavior such as talks, sleeps, walks, or runs, and all of that. So we have some state and properties, and we have some behaviors, and all of this comes under objects, right? So over here we can see we have an animal, we have some properties, age, weight, age again, and we have some classes like moves, sleeps, etc., right? So let's understand in detail what is an object. Object is an instance of a class. Let's understand how. Let's visualize a blueprint of a building. A blueprint of a building. So that building can exist anywhere, right? That building, the building made with the same blueprint can exist anywhere. It can exist in Delhi. It can exist, in New York. It can exist in Mumbai. It can exist anywhere, right? But the actual building which we have made, the actual building can have different colors. The Delhi one can have blue color, the New York one can have black, the Mumbai one can have white. So actual entities can have different colors. So basically, object is an instance of a class. Class is a blueprint, and object is an actual building, right? So basically, as I showed you earlier, that object has state or behavior. State means attributes or properties, and behavior means methods or functions. So every object has a unique identity, right? Even if the attributes are identical. For example, two animals can have same age, two animals can have same color, but each and every animal will have a different identity, a unique identity. A cat and a dog can have same color, but they are different entities, right? So let's understand what's class now. A class, as I told you earlier, that class is like a blueprint, which is a template for creating objects, and we have attributes and methods in this. In attributes and methods, we define what and all functions are there that particular entity does. Also, other than that, we have constructors. Now, what are constructors? Constructors are used to initialize new objects. We'll understand more in detail. Now, first of all, let's understand this much. Let's try and create a class, right? Let's try and create a class. Okay, sorry. So let's create a class named animal, right? Let's create a class named animal which will have some state, which, which can have age, which can have name, which can have some behaviors. It can be eat, it can be color, it can be sleeps, okay, it can be sleep, it can have some particular behaviors, right? Now this is a class and we'll add a semicolon over here, but we have to create an object of this class. This is a blueprint and we have to create an actual entity. How can we do that? So in order to create actual entity, let's create it over here. We have two ways to create an actual object, right? Two ways to create an actual object, which is dynamic allocation, right, and static allocation. First of all, let's create an object by static allocation, right? So in order to create an object with static allocation, we can have the name of the class and name of the entity. For example, doggo, right? Name of the class and name of the entity in order to create an object of the class. Now, how are we going to access the age of this particular, for example, this is we have age over here. How are we going to access the state, the property of this particular animal? We can use this operator, right? We can use dot operator or this operator. I'll tell about it later, but for now let's see how to use dot operator. For example, we have to print the age of this animal. We have to print the age of this particular animal. How are we gonna do that? Let's go ahead and run it. So okay, we're having some error. There is some error in declaration. Color declared void. Okay, let's remove it for once. Okay, so it's saying that this is private. We have to mark it public. We'll understand why this error came later. First of all, let's just mark it public and remove this code over here. As we can see, it is returning some garbage value. We have not set the age yet. It is returning some garbage value, but by using the dot operator, we are able to access the age of this particular animal, which is named doggo, right? Now, why were we not able to access this when the public keyword was not there? This is where access modifiers come into picture, right? This is where access modifiers come into picture. So we have three types of access modifier: public, private, and protected. Public, private, and protected. So what does access modifier do? Access modifier basically controls the visibility of class members. Visibility of class members in all over the system. For example, if we have marked an object of a class or something, or the whole class as public, we can access this from anywhere. We can access that particular class from anywhere. But if we have marked as private, we can access that element within the class. If an entity is marked as private, we can access that element. If it would have been marked as private, we would have been able to access the age over here but not here, right? And if it is marked as protected, it will be accessible within the class and by derived classes. For example, we have another derived class which is inspired by this class, which is derived from this class. We could have, if this would have been marked as protected, then we would have access to this age within this class and within the other class which is derived from this class, right? So basically access modifier define the scope of access. It will define the scope of access that we are having, right? we can access the properties inside the class or outside the class, but we can only access the private members inside the class. And by default, all the members are private. By default, all the members are private. The default access modifier, if we are not mentioning anything, it is private. And that's why earlier, when we did not mention public over here, we were not able to access this code, but once we mentioned public, we were able to access the H. All right, now